What's happening, guys? Supernova here, back with another video. Today I want to talk about some of the risks Sony has taken this generation that not only differs from what Microsoft is doing, but also helps Sony gain and maintain absolute dominance this gen. First off, one of the main differences Sony has when it comes to their first-party studios is creative freedom. Sony gives studios 100% creative freedom when it comes to making their games. This undoubtedly is part of the reason its first-party games are so good. When the studio has drummed something up, instead of putting restrictions on that studio, Sony tells them, if that's the game you want to make, then you go make the best goddamn version of that game you possibly can. This is one of the major factors in Hideo Kojima deciding to partner his newly formed Kojima Productions with Sony. Giving so much freedom to studios is 100% a huge risk, but so far it's been one Sony has been willing to take, and so far it's been working out amazingly well. Even Microsoft has realized the success Sony has had letting studios spread their wings. Remember when Halo creators Bungie left Microsoft? Do you remember why? They said they were looking to gain creative freedom. Microsoft has been known to kind of micromanage studios a bit, and do things like pushing for their studios to have multiplayer in their games. But they have learned from this gen. Mike Ybarra has gone on the record to say that the newly acquired studios will have 100% creative freedom. Continuing with the theme of creative freedom, we have Naughty Dog. Neil Druckmann himself has said, quote, "No one outside Naughty Dog tells Naughty Dog what to do," end quote. And those results speak for themselves. The Last of Us is the most awarded game in recorded history and has won over 200 Game of the Year awards, while the Uncharted series continues to be nothing short of amazing. Now let's talk about Guerrilla Games. Guerrilla Games has been a Sony first-party studio since 2004, and with the exception of its first game, Shell Shock Nom 67, which was a third-person shooter, they have worked on nothing other than Killzone. We have the original Killzone in 2004 on PS2, Killzone Liberation in 2006 for PSP, Killzone 2 in 2009, and Killzone 3 in 2011, both for PS3, and Killzone Shadowfall in 2014, which was a launch title for the PS4. All of these were first-person shooters. Killzone Shadowfall may not have rocked Metacritic, but it was critically acclaimed for its graphics. And even though it only scored a 73 on Metacritic, it was still a huge success for PlayStation 4. So the easy thing to do here would be make another Killzone game, right? So what's the next thing for Guerrilla Games? Another Killzone game? Nope. Another first-person shooter but a new IP? Nope. A third-person shooter? Nope. Guerrilla Games' next project is going to be an open-world, third-person action RPG with robot dinosaurs. All things Guerrilla Games has never done before. Can you imagine what the pitch for that game must have been like? Despite how crazy it must have sounded, Sony had faith in Guerrilla Games and allowed them to make the game they wanted to make, resulting in what would be a critically and commercially acclaimed hit that would end up becoming the most successful first-party franchise on PS4. Horizon Zero Dawn was a Game of the Year contender, a massive PS4 console seller, and on top of that, Guerrilla Games gave us one of the most badass female protagonists in gaming. Samus Aran, Joanna Dark, Jill Valentine, Lara Croft. You can easily add Aloy to that list. This brings us to Sony Santa Monica. In 2002, they began developing a game called God of War for PS2. God of War was Sony Santa Monica giving a middle finger to the people who said Westerners can't make good hack-and-slash games, and their answer to Devil May Cry. God of War quickly became a hit, earning many Game of the Year awards and becoming the 11th best-selling game on PS2. That doesn't sound that impressive until you factor in that the PS2 had a library of 1,850 games. Kratos also became one of the most badass characters in gaming history. God of War had a great trilogy of games on PS2 and PS3, as well as 2 PSP games, all following Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, as he tried to enact his revenge on the gods of Olympus. After God of War 3, there was really nowhere left to go, since Kratos had killed all the gods, including his father Zeus. So what was Sony Santa Monica to do? Well, they decided to make a prequel to the original God of War called God of War Ascension. It was not a successful game, so much so that Sony Santa Monica suffered layoffs, canceled the new IP they were working on, and were planning on shelving the God of War franchise for a very long time. At this point, Sony did not want another God of War. It took Cory Barlog, the director of God of War 2's insistence that they make another God of War, as well as his pitch for the new game to make it happen. Can you imagine pitching a new God of War after the last one was a big letdown and the suits higher up want to shelve it? Not only are you pitching something they don't really want to touch, but then you tell them you're changing the mythology from Greek to Norse. The combat system is completely changing. The camera system is completely changing. It's going to be a semi-open world with some RPG elements. It's going to be more narrative-based. Oh, and by the way, Kratos has a son who follows him throughout the entire game. Can you imagine how stressful that must have been for Cory? And how many things could possibly go wrong with such big changes? What would happen to the franchise if the next game was also a flop? How badly would it be damaged? Yet despite all of that, somehow and for some reason, Sony took the risk. And the result is nothing less than amazing. The new God of War, confusingly just called God of War, has earned a plethora of 10 out of 10 perfect scores, has been called the game of a generation, and even defeated the Rockstar Games juggernaut Red Dead Redemption 2 to become Game of the Year. Again, Sony took a big risk, but the payoff was massive. God of War would go on to break the PS4 exclusive sales record, a title that would still hold had it not been for Marvel's Spider-Man 5 months later, which became the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time on any console. Both of those games would be tremendous PS4 sellers. This brings us to Sony Bend Studio and games not yet released. Bend Studio was acquired by Sony in 2000. Up till this point in time, the only games Sony Bend has made are Bubsy 3D on the original PlayStation, 6 Siphon Filter games for PS1 and PS2, Resistance Retribution on PSP, and 2 Uncharted games on PS Vita. Nothing really major and mostly portable versions of console games. So what is Sony Bend working on now? Days Gone, an open-world, third-person, action-adventure survival horror game. Say what? We don't know yet whether or not Days Gone will be good. What we do know is Sony has put a lot of faith in Bend Studio. They've really allowed them to spread their wings and are taking a very large risk. So far the risks have paid off, but nothing lasts forever. The point being, though, is Sony's taking risks and taking chances instead of playing it safe. On April 26th, we'll find out if this risk also pays off. Now we come to Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch has been a Sony first-party studio since 2011 and is best known for 3 Sly Cooper games on PS2 and 5 Infamous games on PS3 and PS4. The Infamous games are open-world action-adventure games, and even though they have 5 of those under their belt, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that the Infamous games are still nothing like Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is an open-world, third-person action-adventure stealth game, but being third-person and open-world are about all Ghost of Tsushima and the Infamous games have in common. It has easily become one of the most anticipated games set to release on a PlayStation console. I say it like that because we don't have a release date yet. I think we all assume and hope it will release in 2019, but time will tell. The point here again is that Sony's taking a risk on this project. Infamous Second Son and First Light both sold well, with Infamous Second Son being the fastest selling Infamous of all time, so they could have easily kept on that track, but instead they chose to do something very different. Just like with Days Gone, we'll have to wait to see if this risk pays off for Sony. By the way, that's just software. Sony has also taken a pretty large risk in hardware with the PSVR. However, this has also worked out well for them, with the PSVR being the best-selling VR platform in 2018. The VR is another arrow in the PlayStation quiver that, next to its great exclusive games, are 2 things its competition cannot offer. Now in this next part, I'm going to trash Microsoft a little bit, but I'm not trying to start a flame war, I'm just pointing out the facts. What are the biggest upcoming games for Xbox? Gears of War 5 and Halo Infinite. It's always Halo, Gears, and Forza, over and over again. Microsoft is playing it too safe. Horizon Zero Dawn, risk and a brand new IP. God of War, technically a sequel, but it's so different, it for sure was a risk, and it's almost like a new IP. Days Gone, risk and a new IP. Ghost of Tsushima, risk and a new IP. Death Stranding, risk and a new IP. Even if not all the risks pay off, at least Sony is offering new experiences. Halo Infinite and Gears 5 could be amazing, but they're more of the same and they're safe bets. Microsoft has way more capital to access and can afford to take risks way more than Sony can, yet they aren't. Sony's willingness to take risks and give studios 100% creative freedom has delivered great results for them. I know Microsoft said they're giving all their new studios creative freedom, but I hope that they also take some risks. They can afford to do it and there's no excuse for them not to. Because they chose to play it safe while Sony took risks, it only helped boost Sony's sales, solidifying them as the king of this generation. If Microsoft can't deliver anything other than Halo, Gears, and Forza next gen, they're doomed to relive the results of this gen. It's already going to be an uphill battle as it is. Well, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next Supernova.